Good morning. Good morning and welcome to the Ventura Center for Spiritual Living. I'm Reverend Bonnie Rose. It's great to see you here today. Are you warm enough? Maybe not, but we'll close the doors fairly soon. Just bundle, snuggle up with somebody if you can, and we'll be fine. We're going to start getting our blood flowing by standing up and singing together. And continuing in that spaciousness, that divine spaciousness that Jennifer brought us to with her wise and kind words. Let us continue to breathe deeply, to allow this moment to take you deeper, and to open our hearts to listen to the words of our sacred reading.
From The Surrender Experiment by Michael A. Singer. The flow of life is like sandpaper that frees me from myself. Unable to unbind myself from the incessant pull of my psyche, I throw myself into the arms of life. Then I do my very best to serve what is put in front of me and let go of what is stirred up within me. Joy and pain, success and failure, praise and blame, they all pull at what is so deeply rooted within me. The more I let go, the freer I become. It is not my responsibility to find what binds me. That is life's job. My responsibility is to willingly let go of whatever is brought up within me. Each twist and turn that life offers me reaches deep inside and forces me past foundational fears and personal boundaries. As long as I am willing to accept the purifying power of life's flow, I keep on transforming. Life is perfectly designed for my personal awakening. I cannot consider anything a bad experience, for everything creates beauty and freedom within me. And so it is.
And so breathing into everything, all that is, knowing that despite appearances sometimes, it's all love seeking to express itself. It's all the evolution of love coming into being here on the planet Earth as each and every one of us. And so as we sing together, I am remembering who I am. Let us know this truth for ourselves, that I am is the name of God, the name of love, higher power, spirit, whatever you choose to call it. But as we sing together, I am remembering we know this is true about ourself, about our true self. And it's even true about our false self because it's omnipresent, it's everywhere. We know this for ourselves and we know it for all beings. We bless the world through our song, I am remembering who I am. I am remembering who I am. Settling in, resting in the vortex of the I Am presence, made possible by our shared presence here this morning. Let us breathe in deeply, and then exhale, opening our eyes in love and in service to what is, as it is, and so it is.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for inviting me back, and thank you for this beautiful start to the service. So, let's start out with some inspiration to help you remember to remove any thoughts that tell you you can't do something. Never quit until the clock stops, and never die out until your heart drops. Success will separate you from the have-nots and have all of these haters at your neck like an ascot. You could do it too, young world. See, I remember being exactly like you, young girl. But wait, you could do it too, young man. See, you'll be fine as long as on your own too you stand. Keep on living, keep on breathing. Even if you don't believe it, keep on climbing, keep on reaching. Even if this world can't see it, no, impossible is nothing. Even if you don't believe it, impossible is nothing. Even if this world can't see it, gotta hate to not have it more than you love to obtain. That your future's around the corner, so close you can almost taste, and it gets worse before it's better. That storm you gon' have to weather, either be a busted pipe or a diamond due to this pressure. 25 hours, 8 days out the week. Focus, keep eyes open, victory never sleeps. My prayer for you is that you hit all them goals you trying to reach. I even hope at one point that you take it farther than me. Keep on living. Even if you don't believe it, keep on climbing, keep on reaching. Even if this world can't see it, no, impossible is nothing. Even if you don't believe it, impossible is nothing. Even if this world can't see it. I shall never let them see me sweat. Promise to want for more until my very last breath. Promise to blaze a path and leave a trail for the next, and never sell out my soul for any number on a check. I shall never let them see me sweat. Promise to want for more until my very last breath. Promise to blaze a path and leave a trail for the next. Just promise me when I'm gone you won't forget. Keep on living, keep on breathing. Even if you don't believe it, keep on climbing, keep on reaching. Even if this world can't see it, no, impossible is nothing. Even if you don't believe it, impossible is nothing. Even if this world can't see it, no, impossible is nothing.
Thank you so much, you guys. That was so wonderful. John, you got a solo on your first day back. All right. There you go. So beautiful. Thanks. So it's my honor right now to introduce our guest speaker, Patrick Harbula. He's been a spiritual leader, a counselor, and a coach for over 30 years, and he reaches hundreds of thousands of people with his writing and his personal and media experiences, or appearances, rather. Patrick is the author of The Magic of the Soul, this book here that we taught here in the church a while back. It's applying spiritual power in daily living, and it's part of an elective class in the Science of Mind practitioner training course. I also wanted to let you know that Magic of the Soul is available on this nifty thing, which is like a business card, and then this plugs out, and you plug it into a USB port, and there's the book. Oh my gosh, wow, it's amazing. Okay. Patrick is also the founder of the Living Purpose Institute and creator of the Life Coaching and Certification Program and the Primal Fire Intensive. He was ordained as an independent religious science minister by the late Dr. Earl Barnum in 1985, and he affiliated with our movement, CSL, in 2010. Patrick is also ordained and recognized as a Doctor of Divinity through Spiritual Unity Movement, of which he was the president for 12 years. He trained in spiritual psychology with the late Dr. Vivian King. He founded Meditation Magazine in 1985. He was a former director for Sage Publications, a world-renowned social science publisher. Patrick will be available after the service in Stanley's Hall to sign his book. He's teaching our Busting Loose in the Money Game class coming up on Tuesday night. And today he is speaking on non-attachment, the ultimate secret to manifestation and freedom. Please welcome Reverend Dr. Patrick Harbula.
Give these guys a hand, aren't they great? And how about that soloist? Give her some more love. Where'd she go? Amazing. That was so much fun. God, I'm so excited to be here. It's been, I think, about 14 years or so since I spoke here. And at that time, I did a lecture where we actually created a miracle and levitated the podium off of the stage. We're not going to do that today, but... and I'm so excited. Ask me why I'm excited. Because this is the best day of my life. In fact, this moment is the very best moment of my life. And I find myself saying that more and more these days. And there you are. And every time I say it, I actually find myself believing it. You know, because this really, the moment that we're having right now is the only moment that actually exists. So why not have it be the best moment of our lives, right? Let's take a deep breath into that. You know, when you just simply slip into joy and freedom and love in this very moment, doesn't it just dissolve everything else that we might have been worrying about or thinking about or concerned about? Because all we really have is right now. I wasn't going to talk about this at all, but... So, non-attachment. You know, the Buddha said that non-attachment is the philosophy of my life. I'll tell you a little story about two brothers. So one brother is a cat lover. His name is Bob, and his brother's name is Ed. Hates cats, right? So Bob had this cat, this beloved cat named Perky, and he's going away on vacation. He thinks, well, I got to leave my cat somewhere. Who's going to take care of my cat? I could leave my cat with my brother Ed, but he hates cats. On the other hand, he's been taking care of our elderly mother, who's, you know, for several years, and he's done a great job with that. I guess if I can trust my mother with Ed, I ought to be able to trust my cat with Ed, right? So he drops his cat off at Ed's, goes on vacation, comes back 2 weeks later, and he calls up his brother and he says, "Hey brother, how you doing? And how's my beloved Perky?" And Ed says, "Oh, I got some bad news for you, Ed. Perky died. Oh, Mom's calling. Got to go. Click." And Bob is just overwrought with grief about the loss of his cat, and also the really uncaring way in which Ed gave him the news. So he grieves his loss for a few days. He calls up Ed and he says, "You know what, I got to tell you, it really hurt my feelings, the uncaring way in which you gave me the news about Perky." And Ed says, "Well, you know, your cat died. I don't know how else to say it." And so Bob says, "Well, you could have given me the news gently. You could have broken it to me gradually. You could have told me when I called up, 'Oh, Perky's up on the roof playing.' And then you could have called me up later and said, 'You know, Perky fell off the roof and you know, he hurt his leg, but you know, we're doing everything we can. We think he's going to make it.' And then when I came to pick him up in person, you could have told me, 'You know, we did everything we could, but Perky just didn't make it.'" And Ed says, "Well, okay, I guess you're right, brother. I guess I could have, you know, been a little gentler, had more compassion." And so Bob says, "All right, I forgive you, brother." He says, "By the way, how's Mom doing?" Ed says, "Mom's up on the roof playing." You've heard that joke before. You've told it before, probably. Okay. By the way, I just got to say, as she's sitting there smiling, I love this woman. You know, we're not close friends, but we have lunch every couple of years. And this woman, I think you know, is not just one of these. She is the most authentic person in our movement. Not just minister. Yeah, you. And to me, that is the most important quality for a minister and for a person, right? For a human. So you guys are lucky. All right, so I'll tell you another story. I was teaching a class based on a book called, it wasn't, I was teaching a different class, but I was reading the book by Pam Grout called E Squared. Anyone read that book? 9 energy experiments that prove that our consciousness creates our reality. And so the first exercise in the book, there's these different experiments, and the first experiment is, and you can do this without reading the book, is within the next 48 hours, a miracle is going to happen that is so great that I will know that it came as a result of my intention, right? And so in this case, there's other experiments where you identify what it is you want. But in this one, it's just, you have no idea what it's going to be. It's just that it's going to be big, right? And the interesting thing about Pam Grout and her method is, we usually, when we do treatment or we affirm something, is we say, we let it go and then in God's time. But she says, no, give the universe a deadline, right? The universe wants to know when you want it, so 48 hours. Now, I didn't quite buy into that. I didn't quite buy into the time giving the universe a deadline. So it didn't happen in 48 hours for me. It happened in 72 hours, of course. So what the miracle that happened for me is I was teaching a class, and it was on a love offering basis. And the first 2 classes, prior to this third class, the donations, there were 20 people. There were about $200, almost exactly, in the basket. Third class, 72 hours after I did this experiment, there was $1,460, I think, in the basket. Kind of a little bit of difference there, right? So I was certain, and one check was for over $1,000, but even without that check, it was still twice as much. So I was certain that that was a result of the intention. But here's the message in this that I realized in that moment, is if I had done the same experiment 10, 15 years earlier, I would not have had that result because I would have been attached to something happening, right? I would have been thinking, oh, if this doesn't work, if I don't see a miracle, then I did something wrong, or that maybe this works for other people, but it doesn't work for me, or my consciousness was not powerful enough. All of these things would have gone through my head. But because of my practice of non-attachment, I didn't give a damn. I didn't care if if something happened, if nothing happened, because I'm living from an inner experience of freedom and joy consistently, so does it really matter, right? And as a result of having that non-attachment, I'm going to talk more about that, then there's a freedom. Then Spirit can move through us easily. Does that make sense? Thich Nhat Hanh said, it's probably the only, I was sitting here like going over my notes as you were playing that beautiful music. and I was kind of checking things off, and then I realized I'm probably not going to look at these things except for this one quote. So letting go gives us freedom, and freedom is the only condition for happiness. If in our heart we still cling to anything, anxiety, anger, possessions, we cannot be free. And in fact, so what do you think is a more productive consciousness for manifestation? Anxiety or freedom? Right? So here's the thing that happens is when we have an attachment to anything, and when I do a PowerPoint for this, I put up a slide of a person who, this kind of frazzled-looking guy that has like these little lines of energy going out to all these different worries, the economy, the situation in, the war going on, my own personal relationships, my own health, all these different worries. And what's happening is two things when we have an attachment. One is each one of those lines of energy, because when there's any degree of attachment, there's also going to be a degree of fear, right? That what I want to happen won't happen, or what I don't want to happen will happen. However subtle that may be, it might even be unconscious, right? And so we're putting energy through that fear, negative energy, into what we don't want. But the other thing is, to each one of these worries, our energy is being drained out of us, right? So then I put a slide. Well, first I put a slide of an individual, this kind of hippie guy with a peace sign, and say, this is someone who's not attached. And then I say, no, that's actually me down at Venice Beach. But the next slide I put up is someone sitting in meditation, a woman sitting in meditation with a brilliant aura, right, around her. This is how we are when we are non-attached. Our power is intact. So the interesting dichotomy is that the less that I am attached to anything happening, the more power I have to have it happen. Does that make sense? But the real benefit, so manifestation then, the more we are not attached to anything, then I'm going to read that wonderful affirmation that I came up with from your invitation. When I heard it actually spoken, it was even more powerful than when I wrote it. I let go of attachments to external outcomes and allow my inner experience of joy, power, and love to inform the world of form. As human beings, and in our teaching even, even though we understand that this is our teaching, it's an inside-out game, we tend to forget that, right? We tend to think that when I do spiritual mind treatment for better health, that I'm going to be happy, joyful, fulfilled once I achieve that, right? Once I improve my financial situation, then I will be fulfilled, right? But that's a trap, because that's putting it out into the future. And there really is no future, there's only now. So when I simply, and I think this is the purpose of spiritual mind treatment, is to simply get the consciousness right here and right now of the feeling of what I think that I will get when the outward manifestation happens, right? Because then it becomes an inside-out game. Then my inner experience informs the world of form, rather than looking on the outside to see if, oh yeah, something good's happening today, so I'm happy. It works the opposite way around. This is the best day of my life. This is the best moment of my life. If I can embrace that right here and now, the outside world will take care of itself. And by the way, even if it doesn't look pretty, it won't even matter, because I will have peace inside. Yes? So, One other thing I'll say about, I wanted to share about fairly recently, I reconnected with my sister who has been a heroin addict for most of her life, most of her adult life. And I hadn't heard from her in 6 years. I wasn't even sure if she was alive anymore. And I got a call from her counselor at a methadone clinic who said, your sister's not doing so well. Would you like to talk to her? Of course, I said yes. And so we had a couple very brief conversations, and ended up writing her an email, so I didn't get to talk to her very long. And then I got to talk to her longer, so I read it to her, and then I sent it to her counselor, who gave it to her as well. And in that letter, essentially I said, most of our adult life I've been trying to help you. When we've been in contact, I've been trying to fix her. It's the truth. Trying to say something, do something that would help her to have a more fulfilled life. But as a result of my practice, and I said to her, as a result of my interaction with you in part, and also my philosophy, what I've come to realize is that everyone on the planet is here for one basic purpose, and that is to unfold love. And everyone is unfolding love in a particular way. And I said that so the people like yourself who have chosen a more difficult, your soul has chosen a more difficult path for you, a more difficult way to unfold love. I have to honor you for that, because I have the easy job. I get to go around and speak to audiences like this of amazing people. I get to do workshops or lead classes on busting loose from the money game, where we have these amazing transformational experiences. I have the easy job. It's the people. I said to her, your soul knew that you were strong enough and courageous enough to go down this path, to learn how to unfold love in whatever way that was. And she, if you met her, you would think, wow, this is an amazing, positive person. You would probably not know. I mean, she looks pretty, worn out by now after a lifetime of drugs. But if you just talked to her on the phone, you thought, wow, this is. Her counselor said to me, if I thought it would help her, I would take her home with me. I love her that much, right? And I said to her in this letter that you have touched people in ways. You've reached people that I will never reach with your particular brand of love. I said that even the things that look the worst, the most hideous in our world, the people who are abusers, the people who are abused, all of those are playing roles in unfolding love, right? And so I have to honor all those people. And I actually got to sit down and have lunch with her shortly after that. And it was the first time in our adult life that I was sitting across from her and I didn't have an agenda. I had no attachment, right, to having to say anything that's going to somehow raise her up. And as a result of that, it was the first time in our adult life I could truly enjoy her company. You feel the power in that? The less agenda we have, the more power, the more love, the more joy, the more freedom we can experience. And then manifestation becomes easy. But the most important gift here is not even the manifestation. It is the freedom that comes from non-attachment, from just allowing, from embracing. Robert Scheinfeld, in Busting Loose from the Money Game, the book we're going to be teaching on Tuesday, says, there's nothing to fix, change, or improve upon. Nothing to fix, change, or improve upon. When I got that, when I embraced that, right? It changes everything. And, I think our teaching is shifting, It used to be more about manifesting parking spaces and cars and bigger things, right? And now what I hear more and more is that everything is perfect just the way it is. That it really is about accepting, embracing. And all of our most revered teachers are saying the same thing in different ways. Byron Katie says, love everything. Any Byron Katie fans? I think she's the most enlightened person that we know of on the planet. Robert Scheinfeld says appreciate everything. Appreciate everything, and especially the things that are the most challenging in our life. Open to it, embrace it. August Gold says, invite everything, invite every experience. Eckhart Tolle says, give up resistance to what is. Another thing Byron Katie says is, I don't argue with reality because I'm a spiritual person. I don't argue with reality because it hurts. And I never win that argument, not once. Right? So the only way to true freedom is to invite and embrace and appreciate and to love everything. And you know what? It's really not that hard. Everything that is the opposite of that is hard. Striving, trying to get to stuff. The easiest thing in the world is to simply surrender and let go. But we forget that, right? Are you not sure about that? Watch. Take a deep breath. Release and let go. How do you feel right now? That's how simple it is. And it's a practice. Everything's a practice. I'm not, 100% not attached, right? I was a little bit attached to doing a good talk today. But it will be a better talk to the degree that I am not attached to it being a good talk, right? So when I'm attached, I'm actually blocking the pathway through which my good emerges. In fact, what's occurred to me is, and in my experience, is that anytime we resist anything, we create a block in energy. And if it's a physical thing, if I have physical symptoms and my knee hurts and I'm saying, gosh, I hate that my knee hurts, I'm creating a block of energy right there, or a block of energy in the chakra that relates to that area of my body. As soon as I embrace and allow, then the energy flows. And what is the energy? The only energy that exists, which is love. So when I resist anything, I'm blocking love. When I embrace, when I open, when I accept, then love flows. And love is the only thing that heals. It's the only energy that there is. So I was coaching a client of mine years ago, and she said, I want to get this $1 million home. And she was going to use it to start her healing center. And she was in real estate, and so she knew it was a bit above her budget, but she said, I really want to get it, so I'm practicing not being attached to it so that I can get it. So we both laughed about that because I do that too. And so the message there is to not be attached to being non-attached, right? So I'm almost done here. Let's see. I'll tell you a bit about the class. So, such a fun class. This is my favorite class to teach, Busting Loose from the Money Game. This particular teaching has had the most profound effect on my life and my consciousness of anything else I have ever read. One of my clients said, it's like Science of Mind on steroids. And I'll give you an example of that. One of the quotes that I absolutely love is he says, and talk about non-attachment, this takes it to another level. He says, when we get to the place in consciousness where we realize it's no better to have $1 million than it is to owe $1 million, then we will have the consciousness that will allow us to create anything that we want with the snap of our fingers. Do you feel the power in that, right? Another thing, this is my another favorite quote of mine, and I'm going to paraphrase this and exaggerate a little bit, but he says, and this is what happens, by the way, when we get to that place of non-attachment, is we can realize this at higher and higher levels. Who you really are, who we really are, who you really are is an infinite, omnipotent being. You have the potential to snap your fingers and create anything you want. Any concept of power that you've ever heard of is nowhere close to the power that you actually have. If you took all the power that's available in everything that we have created on this planet, the nuclear bombs, the power plants, the iPhones, the jets, the rockets, if you took all that power, combined it with the power of Mother Earth herself, the volcanoes, the hurricanes, the earthquakes, gathered up all that power and magnified it 1 billion times, that would still be a speck compared to the power available to you sitting right here in these seats. Isn't that amazing? Now, when I say that quote, that is not logical, right? And yet I see heads nodding because we resonate with the truth. Now, I may not be capable of demonstrating that completely right now, but that doesn't mean it's not my potential. I can snap my fingers and say, $1 billion right here. And I don't know, I'm not checking my bank account right now. It might be there, right? But it doesn't mean that I can't do it. It just means I haven't stepped into the fullness of that potential yet. So, let's see, anything else about the class? It's the only class that I've ever taught that almost all classes, right, Bonnie, you start out with a certain amount of people and then there's some attrition and you end up with a fewer amount at the end of the class. It's the only class I've ever taught that ends up with more people at the end of the class at the beginning. Because what happens is after the first class, they tell my friends, you gotta come and experience this because it's so powerful and so life-changing. So come and join us for the first class at least. Bonnie asked Reverend Bonnie asked if I wanted her to be there first class to assist or help out or anything. And I said, yeah, but not because I need the assistance, because I know that if she comes that they're going to get hooked and want to stay too. So come and join us and just check it out in the first class and see if it's for you. If you don't resonate with that quote, by the way, that when you realize that it's no better to have $1 million than owe $1 million, then you won't like the class. If you resonate with that, come and you're going to get a lot out of it. Okay, I'll tell you one last little quote, little story. Anyone see? Some of you see my favorite exotic marigold hotel. Okay, so in it, the Indian gentleman who had created this brochure that he was marketing to people in England, and this is in India, and of this like retirement home in this big like palace, right? And it's so beautiful, and they get there and it's all run down, it's dilapidated, and they you airbrushed the this brochure. It's not even real. And then people would come up with them with all these problems about what's wrong in their room and so on and so forth. And he would always, the famous saying was, we have a saying in India that everything will be all right in the end. And if it's not all right, it's not yet the end. Right? I'm going to tell you one more quick story. My teacher, who Reverend Bonnie had mentioned in my introduction, Dr. Vivian King, who I learned spiritual psychology from for 4 years, she, after I graduated her program, she was hit by a drunk driver and became a quadriplegic and lost her voice because it was brainstem damage. And so she was, and when I found out about this, she was just being moved from Texas to Long Beach. And I went and visited her, and she was in a coma for 6 weeks. Her head was swollen the size of a basketball. When I saw her, it was normal, but her face was very contorted. And they were just deciding where she was going to go for her rehabilitation. And I said, well, if she comes to the San Fernando Valley, where I lived at the time, I can come and kind of help out and assist her with her physical therapy and so on. So they didn't know where I lived, but she ended up 2 blocks away from my house. So I got to spend a lot of time with her. And as I was helping her and doing spiritual mind treatment and energy healing and so on, it might sound like I'm doing a lot for her, but I was the one receiving the gift. There were times when she would be eating. She had a mechanical arm that helped her to eat, and because she wanted to do it herself rather than have someone feed her. And she would be getting food all over her face and all over her apron, and As I say that, you might be thinking that she might have been in distress about that, but not so. She'd be smiling, laughing, because she saw the cosmic joke in it. She knew what she taught us in spiritual practice, that she was more than her body. She was more than her emotions, more than her mind. She knew that she was a soul. Nearing the end of her life, she said, as long as I am in a physical body, I can remain a presence of peace and power and love in this world. That's the power of non-attachment. She was not attached to who she was as a physical being. She realized the truth of who she really was. And it really is all about love. Even though I haven't said a lot about that, the most important thing we can get is self-love. It occurred to me when I was talking to a client recently that when I love myself unconditionally, what I realize is that I am not myself. I am in fact the self. I am in fact pure love, and so are you. And I love you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Okay, so let's do a prayer. If you would just turn within, breathe in and breathe out, and just allow yourself to be here in this sacred moment, in this power, in this presence, knowing that there is only one perfect life. Perfect includes everything. This life that is God's life, that includes joy and sorrow, darkness and light. This perfect life is right here, right now, expressing through each of us. It expresses through me as I say these words. It expresses through each of us individually and also each of us collectively, here in this center of love, where we aspire to be love, share love, and serve love, not only as a congregation, but also in our lives. And so I connect with this energy of love and absolutely know it as my own. And as I know it as my own, I know it for every single person in this room. And so I speak these words of truth for all of us, using the I am, saying, I am love, I am abundance, I am perfect non-attachment. I am perfect non-attachment even when I'm attached, because I can be detached from my attachment. I am all that is. I am power, I am peace, I am darkness, I am light. I am that which moves the planets. I am the universe. And knowing that this is so, we each go forth in our own lives with this grace and with this power and with this knowing that life is good and that this truly is the most perfect moment in our lives because the I am presence is here. This moment is perfect because I am here. And so I'm just so grateful to know this, so grateful for the transformation that I know is occurring here in every single being in this congregation. So grateful for the transformation that ripples out from this center and blesses the entire world, the universe, all beings everywhere. I'm grateful for this truth, grateful for this teaching. I'm grateful for our speaker today and the way he phrased the teaching in such beautiful terms. And I bless all paths to God. Churches, synagogues, temples, mosques, ashrams, fundamentalists, atheists. I say a special word of blessing for the people at Temple Beth Torah, knowing that they are loved and loving and that they are held in safety and peace and grace. And with a heart that is so filled with gratitude and so filled with peace and love and joy and harmony, I release these words into the divine mystery, the mystery of love and law. And together we say, and so it is. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful.
Here's a song that I wrote that, again, talks about attachment. Sometimes you need to detach from people too, or maybe a job or work or community of something that is no longer serving you. So here we go. It used to be all about you, and now I'm figuring out me. 'Cause before I used to please, compromise and being happy. to be all about you, and now I'm figuring out me. 'Cause before I used to please, compromise and being happy. I said once upon a time, way back in the day, I would just do what people would say. Was insecure, wasn't sure, didn't know how to shine the light inside so bright. So I looked to you 'cause I thought you knew everything and what was best for me. But now I realize that I was blind, 'cause all the answers are inside. It used to be all about you, now I'm figuring out me. 'Cause before I used to please, compromise and being happy. I said it used to be all about you, and now I'm figuring out me. 'Cause before I used to please, compromise and being happy. Used to ask my mom on a daily if I'm okay. Look to others for reassurance, 'cause I care what they say. See, I was looking outside and now I'm realigned. Don't gotta sweat the small stuff. My eyes are open and woke up, and I affirm I am enough. It used to be all about you, and now I'm figuring out me. 'Cause before I used to please, compromise and being happy. To be all about you, now I'm figuring out me. 'Cause before I used to please, compromise and being happy. I thank God for taking you out of my life, putting an end to the letdown, shame, strife. Now I focus my attention on me. See, don't get me wrong, I'm not pretentious. Please, my heart has been open, I'm soaking in. If I bump my head now with the former, I forgot, behold, I will do something new. Isaiah, La Bears, new friendships, a crew. Yo, LO, 7L. Feels like I've been saved by the bell. I exude gratitude for the season of amplitude. So if you feel like your life's in a rut, just stop observing, honey, make some cuts. It used to be all about you, now I'm figuring out me. 'Cause before I used to please, compromise and being happy. I said it used to be all about you, 'cause now I'm figuring out me. 'Cause before I used to please, compromise and being happy. Thank you.